Hi, I'm Renae Hanvin. Welcome to our first What If Wednesday, where once a month we'll be talking to key people about some what ifs that could impact your business. The purpose of this segment is to get you thinking about how to prepare yourself and your business for what lies ahead. Today, I'm joined by Blue Mountains District Superintendent Nick Medianik, who's been a member of the New South Wales RFS for more than 25 years. Nick started as a volunteer in 1996 in Blaxland before moving into full-time roles with the Volunteer Fire Service and also working for NSW Fire and Rescue. A seasoned firefighter, Nick has also worked across rural and regional New South Wales in his time with the RFS in a number of operational roles. Now, I can't think of a better person to join us today to talk about how businesses can prepare and respond to disasters. Thanks so much for joining me, Nick.
Not a problem at all, Renae. Thank you very much.
Now, we see a lot of advice for homeowners on how to prepare for fires and storms as we move from spring into the summer months. And I'd like to explore what business owners and operators can do in this area. So I've got 4 what-if questions for you. The first one, what if an event occurred that required people in business to immediately evacuate? What do they need to do before and during such an event?
Absolutely, Renae. You are right. There is a plethora of information out there for residential property owners, and also expanding to, I suppose, people on rural properties. Our Farm Firewise initiative, and also, we're expanding for catering for people with, large what we call large companion animals, so horses, things like that. But you're right. Certainly, generally the business community, especially in relation to bushfire, there's not a great deal of material out there. So I suppose the first thing you need to consider, as any business, is how are you going to operate should something external to your business affect the way that your operating environment or your ability to trade. Living in the Blue Mountains, we live with the bush. We need to be prepared to live with fire, and fire is part of our landscape. It's really important for businesses to ensure that they have a business continuity plan, and I'm sure most people in small business and certainly medium business would have a business continuity plan to ensure that they have the ability to trade, or they have ability to ensure that their staff have other duties or alternate access to work if required. Evacuations, unfortunately, can occur with short notice, and evacuations in the case of bushfire are undertaken by the New South Wales Rural Fire Service, or the incident controller, I should say, in discussion with the senior police officer for the area. So the advice is provided to the police from the incident control agency, and then the police then undertake those evacuations. Often this requires premises to be vacated in a very short time. So we'd ask that business owners have some sort of contingency plan to ensure they know how to, number one, secure their premises. That's really important, because unfortunately, when large-scale evacuations do occur, we know that there are people in the community that take advantage of that, and looting does occur. Businesses need to ensure that they have somewhere safe for their employees to go. So they need to consider where their employees live. We're all part of our community, and in the mountains, we often have people that travel from a number of local government areas away into our community to work, and we also have members in our community that travel to other local government areas. So the safety of those employees travelling, throughout a large-scale incident area is a very primary consideration. So I suppose I'd ask that that business, owners, operators be mindful of that, and the expectation of having employees travel through, active fire grounds and areas where there's been some sort of incident on our roadways. We would ask that employers be mindful of that, and the safety of the employee is paramount. I suppose too, the other thing is, make sure that they have some sort of redundancy, particularly if they have a business that's operates some sort of perishable goods or is affected by power outages and things like that, that there is a backup, i.e. they have a generator installed, or they have a means and mechanisms to be able to get sensitive produce or materials to some sort of storage should there be a prolonged power outage.
Great tips there. And I think what I took out of a lot of that is planning, being prepared and planning for the what if and what might happen. Now, you mentioned before, obviously some employees might work off the mountain, etc. But what if an employer has an employee who is a volunteer firefighter and is called out during an event? What do they need to think about or have in place?
That is a very, very good question. The New South Wales Rural Fire Service operates a supportive employer program, and we have a portion of our state or our public webpage that is dedicated to providing employers with information about how to support employees who are volunteer firefighters or emergency services in general. Often a lot of us wear multiple hats from time to time. Look, all I can say is to employers that have any emergency services or community support employees is please support them. Please support us. Plan for time off with short notice, but sit down and have that. The important part of this is sit down and have that conversation with your employees. Put it out on the table. Don't dance around it. Put it out there. Have the discussion about, hey, what are we going to do should there be a prolonged emergency incident, whether it be fire, flood, storm, tempest, whatever it might be, where employees may be spending a significant amount of time away from work. Maybe it's a case of alternate shifts or rotating rosters or something like that. But the key thing is to have that discussion and have it early, and don't treat it as a taboo subject. So be open, be honest, and encourage the employees to have that discussion with you as a business owner operator about how it can work. Yeah, it can be mutually beneficial, I suppose, arrangement between the employer and the employee.
So thanks. We're going to put the links to the website to that website page onto the Business BM website as well. And I think I love what you say there in the sense of have the conversation to make it part of business as usual, because it is something that is likely possibly going to happen in the region. So let's not make it a reactive kind of approach. Let's have the conversation just to set it in stone. So everyone's kind of, knows where everyone sits in advance and people can go and help support their community, but then also not put the businesses out of business by not having anyone to deliver those roles as well. So my third what if a business wanted to help prepare the Blue Mountains community for the upcoming fire or storm season? What can they do?
This is an excellent question, and I really like this one. So we have a number of obviously businesses in the Blue Mountains. We're quite a tourist-focused and tourist-centric area, and we encourage people to come and see our beautiful community and our natural environment. And we have a number of businesses that operate in that space of either adventures, touring adventures, hiking, canyoning, climbing, overnight camping, all of those sorts of things. And it would be really, really good to have those businesses have some sort of fire awareness in their information packages that they provide to potential clients. I'll give you an example. I stayed at a B&B on the coast a while back before COVID, and sitting on the table as part of the welcome information pack there was an entire kit on bushfire information and local emergency information, fire, flood, storm, all that sort of thing. And it was really fantastic because it gave me a map of the local area, where my nearest neighbourhood safer place was, where the local SES Rural Fire Service ambulance was. So that was really, really good. Those businesses that do, I suppose, introduce members of the community from outside our local government area into our natural environment, it can often pose a risk, particularly during heightened fire danger. So I would ask businesses that do operate, particular hiking and tours and things like that, just be fire aware, be very mindful of the fire danger rating in the coming days. Have that discussion with your clients and with your employees and other partners in your operations, and just be very mindful, I suppose, that you're not potentially introducing a dozen or so people who may not understand how we live with the bush in the Blue Mountains into a situation where they might find themselves, on a day of heightened fire danger, surrounded by a wildfire and potentially requiring some sort of, emergency evacuation from what could potentially be the middle of nowhere. So again, it's all about that planning. And what would be really, really good for those businesses, we do have a number of publications and material available, particularly for caravanning, camping, outdoors, all that sort of stuff, safe trekking, that we share with our partners from the State Emergency Service, New South Wales Police, Fire and Rescue, Ambulance, etc. So just having that information and publications available to those clients to perhaps provide that a bit more understanding of what the risk might be of them doing these activities, particularly in our environment up here on days of heightened fire danger. And the only other thing that I would say is when we do enter those periods of elevated fire danger, particularly in total fire bans, some of these activities look it's put it on the table, they can be quite dangerous. So obviously, businesses need to be sustainable and ensure that they're still making money to stay viable. But we would ask that when total fire bans are issued, some of those outdoor activities that could be potentially placing people in risk in remote wilderness areas or remote bushland areas, perhaps maybe reconsidered, or is there an alternative way that they can still have a positive experience in our Blue Mountains, but it might not be that particular cave or that particular walk that they do every time.
I think to me, what I take from that is that knowledge is key. So the more you know, then the better prepared and the better response you can make. But also, I really like the fact of having that, I guess, almost flipping the mindset to be not just about keeping your business safely trading, but really thinking about those other stakeholders, so your customers or your employees, and what keeping trading might mean to them, and the risk that it puts them in as well. So that's great, really great points to think about. So my last one, so what if a business person wanted to know and better understand the RFS in terms of its role in disaster preparedness and response? You've mentioned a few publications and whatnot, but where can they go to find out more?
So our public website, www.rfs.nsw.gov.au, certainly has a plethora of information about who we are, what we do, and there's a little tab called About Us, gives a history of our organisation. Look, the Rural Fire Service is so much more than bushfires. We provide primary fire protection for over 95% of the landmass of New South Wales, and that's not just bushfires. That's house fires, structure fires for buildings, commercial premises, motor vehicle accidents, road crash rescue, assistance to our colleagues from the State Emergency Service with storm and tempest. It really is an organisation that is quite an all hazards approach, for want of a better term. And our organisation, has a deep history of being a community-based emergency service. And I suppose that's one of the unique aspects of the New South Wales Rural Fire Service, is that a significant portion of our organisation are from our local communities. And without having those people embedded in our local communities to do what they do, we wouldn't be who we are. So it is, I suppose, an organisation that is unique, that it is truly reflective, of the communities that we do serve.
And you can say, we say all the time, no one knows the community like the people that work and live there. So the RFS embedded by the people, and also the responses to protect and keep safe the local community. So that was our first What If Wednesday catch up. If you have an idea for future conversations for either a guest or a topic, please email us at info@businessbm.com.au. Remember, what ifs are about helping you to build resilience and readiness in your business to benefit your community. Nick, thanks so much for talking to you today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
We'll see you again soon.
Thank you.